In La Paz, it's real Mexico. It still feels real. It's more affordable than other places. It is where the desert meets the ocean. So there's really great scuba diving here. The whale sharks come in. You can snorkel with whale sharks, which are they're not sharks or whales, but they're the size of both of those put together. And they're just gentle creatures. So you can swim with those.
Welcome to Live by Design Mexico Edition, the podcast about creating freedom, adventure, and a life in Mexico that truly feels like your own. I'm your host, Taniel Chemsian. If you've been dreaming of warmer days, smarter investments, and a future designed on your terms, your journey begins here. Every week, we dive into stories, insights, and strategies to help you make Mexico not just a destination, but a new way of life. We've got so much to cover today, we had to split it into 2 episodes. So settle in and don't miss a moment. Don't wait for life to happen. Design it. And it starts right here. Healthcare. What's healthcare like? Like in Vallarta, we have big hospitals and we have got tons of clinics. Are there big hospitals in La Paz, or are they mid-sized, small?
So La Paz is the state capital of Baja California Sur. So there is the big hospitals, the big local hospitals. So La Paz probably has about 250,000 people or something like that. So there's a lot of locals that live in La Paz. And there are a couple of private hospitals, which is where most of the foreigners go for their care. I did have to go in. I've had melanoma before. I wanted a skin check, and the doctor suggested kind of a full workup with blood work and a chest x-ray, an ultrasound, the office visit with an oncologist. I'm trying to think if there was anything else, but the total cost was $250. And Wow. It was all done the same day in the same hospital. And it was something where I think I called a couple days in advance, talked directly to the specialist. He's like, come in on Tuesday. I went in, I saw him. He, wrote up everything. And I was like, well, if I need an x-ray, when am I going to be able to do that? And he's like, well, walk across the hall and ask them. And he knew that they were going to be ready for me. So the healthcare is so much less expensive than the United States. I'm typically paying close to like what my copay would be. And I'm able to schedule things. For my primary care physician is, I think her, $40 or so might be what I pay her. And I can usually send her a message on WhatsApp and get an appointment the next day. And that's just the way it works. And so there are some clinics, but for the most part, everyone calls it the Purple Hospital. That's the most popular private hospital. And they have an emergency room, and that's where everyone goes. A few years ago, I want to say someone had to stay there. I'm not going to quote it, but essentially, hundreds of dollars a night for overnight stay in the hospital versus, what would be thousands of dollars up here. So
it'll be outrageous in LA. Yeah,
exactly. So really healthcare. And as far as insurance, my wife has insurance through her company that she works for, and they will cover us in Mexico, but we've never filed anything like, $250 that I had to pay for all those chest x-rays. It's like, you just pay out of pocket. And so much is so accessible that you wouldn't need insurance. Now, that's not to say that people should go without insurance. I think that having insurance is a good idea. And just in case something catastrophic happens.
Sure.
Also make sure you have a high limit on your credit card, because hospitals do want to get paid by the day. They want to get paid before you leave. And you are talking about a cash-based society that they want to make sure you're paying. So I know someone who got into a car accident on their bicycle, or they were on their bicycle, got hit by a car. They had to have brain surgery. The brain surgery was $10,000 to remove pieces of their skull from their brain, which I can't imagine what brain surgery costs in the United States. I mean, $10,000 was nothing, but still it was something where his wife didn't have a high enough credit limit. So had to talk to other people to be able to raise the money. And they had the money, but they just didn't have it available immediately to pay the hospital. So little stuff like that, I think is interesting. But yeah, I would make sure you have some kind of insurance for those catastrophes.
Wow. The healthcare here, I mean, my experience has been, like in the States, and I'm not bashing, any medical facility or I'm going to generalize here, but, When I've gone to the hospital here in Vallarta, they take really good care of me. They're really patient. I don't feel like they're rushing me in and out.
God, no.
Like I
Yeah.
felt like that in LA sometimes. Like you're just kind of like the cattle, like run them through. How is the care, the actual care itself, and the attention you were getting in La Paz?
Yeah, I mean, same as you said. Really, you feel like they're there for you. They're paying attention. They're not scheduled back to back the way they are in the United States. One of the things that I'd heard was that if you had to spend the night in the hospital, that you had to bring someone there to like provide food and like help you to the bathroom because the nurses there were providing medical care only. And I think that is true of the public hospitals, which is where most of the local people go. But most of the local people do have family that are there to be able to help. And that's kind of like just how it works. If they would probably be sad if someone else was helping them out with these things. But the private hospitals were not that way. The private hospitals were pretty much providing everything the way you would expect things to be provided in the United States. And, the equipment that I saw was all top notch, brand new equipment. This was not something I kind of expected things to be older, but it wasn't.
There's a misconception. They watch the news in the States, and I don't know if it's like that in Canada. And they don't realize that it's not all doom and gloom and everything is trashy and dirty. We have state of the art hospitals here, state of the art equipment, and a lot of the doctors, a lot of the staff, they're bilingual. So is the same thing?
Yes, pretty much. The doctors will all be bilingual. The staff is touch and go in terms of being bilingual.
Yeah, at least the receptionist, the front desk, they're bilingual, but probably not every single person. But front desk is bilingual.
I went in for that chest X-ray, and it was done by a doctor. It was done by another doctor, so it wasn't like a technician or something. It was like everything was done by a doctor. They don't have, like, if you go into the dentist and get your teeth cleaned, you're getting teeth cleaned by a dentist. They don't have this kind of how we've set up this whole system of assistants and whatnot that's different down there.
Do you have your doctor's phone number?
Yes. Yeah. And WhatsApp.
That's another difference, right? In Mexico, the doctors give you their phone number. They'll text you, they'll call you, they'll email you directly. We're not used to that in the States.
Yes.
So that's really great care. Do you guys have a car? Or do you guys take a cab? How do you guys get around?
Yeah, so we drive back and forth. So we're leaving in just a few days. We'll be driving down. We have a dog, Mexican street mutt that we picked up down there, and we decided to keep him. But so he drives back and forth with us. And so we have our car from Oregon that we have. And then we also bought a car because when I mentioned earlier, we were in an RV. When we first went to Mexico, we bought an RV because we're like, this will be the best way to get to Mexico and back and bring things and everything. Turns out an RV can be a real pain in the butt to drive on Mexican roads because they can be very narrow. There's truck traffic. So we ended up getting rid of the RV. But when we had the RV and we were taking all those 12 trips down to the CFE office downtown, I was like, we really need a car. And we ended up buying a car just over Facebook Marketplace. It was another Canadian, I can't remember. It was an American because he had American plates on the car. And one of the things that's different about the Baja Peninsula compared to the mainland where Puerto Vallarta is, permanent residents can drive cars that have foreign plates in the Baja Peninsula and part of Sonora, which is really a nice thing. So we don't have to worry about having a Mexican plated car for the times we're in Mexico and a U.S. plated car for the times that we're in the United States. We can just drive back and forth. And we do have plates from South Dakota, which is the state that makes it easy to get plates without having your car ever enter the state.
So how is it driving in Mexico? Did you feel safe? Did you feel unsafe? Was it dangerous? Because people, you watch the media and it's like, don't do this in Mexico, don't do that.
Yeah.
So could you share with us your experience?
So the unsafe was pretty much kind of some road conditions. Like there's a spot in Baja California Sur where the road is really snaking up the side of a mountain and a lot of the guardrails have been, run over and they haven't been replaced. So some of those are a little bit nerve-wracking, especially when you're driving an RV. That was where we felt unsafe. We don't drive at night. We drive at night in the city, but we don't drive at night in the country. And that's because the farm animals come to the roads to stay warm. It's not because there's banditos or anything on the roads. So we've felt really pretty safe driving during the day. There have been some spots in the roads, and there's something called Baja Talk Road Conditions. It's a Facebook group. So you can go on there and kind of learn where the roads are in the worst conditions or where they're working on the roads. I'm guessing there's probably a lot of road work going in. There was just recently some hurricanes and whatnot, tropical depressions that came through. So usually they need to be doing some road work. But yeah, safety wise, I'm not afraid of people. I'm afraid of hitting cows or holes or topes, the speed bumps that kind of come up from out of nowhere.
Yeah. La Paz. Why do people love La Paz? What's so special about it? I've come across a few other people recently. They've been talking about La Paz. I haven't been there. I've been to San Felipe, which is way further north, back in the late 80s, early 90s. So what's so enchanting and charming about La Paz that a lot of Americans are starting to gravitate towards?
Well, I think it still feels like real Mexico. It's kind of, there are no cruise ships that come in here. There is a flight from the La Paz International Airport to LAX a couple times a week. So we're pretty disconnected from the United States and Canada and the rest of the world. That airport mostly serves Guadalajara and Mexico City. So it's bringing the tourists over from other parts of Mexico. So it still has that, as I mentioned, the tourist infrastructure without catering too much to foreigners. Now, if you go to the restaurants that are right along the Malecon, that first stretch there, most of the waiters will speak English. People don't use dollars here. It's the peso, and versus I think of like Cabo, where people, like, English is spoken everywhere. You can even use your dollars, and I'm guessing Puerto Vallarta has some of that where the dollar is accepted in a lot of places.
Some of that, sure. Hmm?
In La Paz, it's real Mexico. It still feels real. It's more affordable than other places. It is where the desert meets the ocean. So there's really great scuba diving here. The whale sharks come in. You can snorkel with whale sharks, which are they're not sharks or whales, but they're the size of both of those put together. And they're just gentle creatures. You can swim with those, swimming with the sea lions. So there's a lot of people who are into fishing. So just because the water's there's some beautiful, gorgeous beaches just north of the city. And it just still has that feel like a real Mexican city, I guess.
Does it feel like real old world?
It doesn't feel like old world because it is, part of the new frontier of Mexico. So it's part of the newer area that's been developed. I mean, there's a little bit of that older architecture, but, looking back, if we had kind of thought about this whole idea of living in Mexico, there's a good chance that we would be living in a place like Querétaro, which is about 3 or 4 hours north of Mexico City, which has that old architecture, which is that old Spanish towns and the town squares and the roads that kind of curve around and are really skinny. Not too far from San Miguel de Allende is Querétaro, or Guanajuato is another town that I'm really in love with.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and it's got that. It's the beautiful old historic architecture.
Yeah.
La Paz doesn't really have that.
Yeah. And Querétaro is popping up and more on the radar of Americans and Canadians. I'm hearing a lot more people moving to Querétaro. And of course, San Miguel is just super popular with Americans. So are you retired? Or do you work in Mexico? So what do you do with your time, those 6 months that you're there?
Yeah. So thanks for asking. So I am almost retired in Mexico. Hopefully some of your subscribers have seen me before on my YouTube channel. But pretty much my job is partly make YouTube videos about moving to Mexico, and then also make videos just like we're making. Actually, this is the software that we're using today is the software that I use with my clients to make videos. I work mostly with coaches and consultants, life coaches, executive coaches and consultants, and I help them make video remotely. So I kind of specialize in people or groups that span boundaries. So just last week, I was working with people in Africa, and then later on in the afternoon in Europe, and then over to the United States. So that's kind of my specialty. And then I also make Amazon videos. So sometimes when you're looking at something on Amazon and you see a video, I'm one of the people who makes those videos, and I get a commission from that. So that's kind of, it's harder to do that part of my job down in Mexico because it's harder to get stuff from Amazon. It's still possible, but Mostly that's what I do a lot in the summer. And then we actually bring a lot of the stuff south. So I've got, some things that are going to go in the car that I'll make videos as I get them unpacked and start using them, like a little water boiler or something like that. I'm like, okay, well, I'll work on that video. So, so I work from home or from out and about anywhere in Mexico. And then my wife is a consultant. She's an attorney, and she works for a company that doesn't care where she works. As long as there's an airport nearby, she's got to go back to the United States a couple times this spring, but that should be no problem getting back. The La Paz airport is small, but we're just 3 hours from Cabo San Lucas. The San Jose del Cabo airport has direct flights just about anywhere.
Do you think you guys will at some point live full time in Mexico?
That's not the plan. The plan is to still go back and forth. My wife has family here in Portland, and the Portland summers are pretty nice. The weather gets really nice, but I usually go back to Mexico a couple times during the summer too, and usually explore a bit.
So Brighton, we have a lot of friends north of the border in the States, in Canada. They've been dreaming about moving to Mexico, and then they don't for one reason or another. Maybe it's the propaganda they see on TV, or it's their fear, the doubt. What advice would you give them for them to take that first step towards their dream in living in Mexico?
I think, first piece of advice would be to just do it. I know one of the people I just interviewed from Ensenada, she moved in her early 80s to Mexico.
From the States?
From the States, yes. So it is, it's possible to do this at any point in time. You don't, even if you're getting older, you can still make it happen. But I think giving it a try is the best way for people to start, is just even get an Airbnb for a month. And if you're retired, go ahead, spend a month in Mexico, get a house sitter or something for your place back in the United States, and just choose a city and give it a try and see if it's something that works for you. And if you've got an Airbnb, it comes furnished and everything's, they make it a lot easier, but you can still start to connect with people. And then I would say Facebook groups. Every city in Mexico has a expats in blank city. So Puerto Vallarta probably has at least a dozen groups like this.
A lot.
La Paz has about half dozen, and you can connect with people there, get all your questions answered, and just go in as a tourist. It's, you can stay as a tourist. You could stay up to 6 months and give it a try. Just say, you know what, we're going to go down. We're going to go down for 2 weeks. We're going to go down for a month, and we're going to see if this would work for us in whatever particular town. I think that's the best way to get started. Yeah,
great advice. I agree with you 100%. You don't want to live a life full of regret, not ever taking that chance and giving yourself that opportunity towards what could be one of the most joyful experiences of your life.
Yeah, and I hope to make a video soon with people who have left, because one of the things that's been really sad for us in the last couple of years is, we make these great friends and then people are moving away. But I think none of them are sad that they gave it a try. Like one of them, Mark and Allie, their daughter, they have a teenage daughter, and it just, she really missed her friends back in the United States and being able to have a lot of friends versus just a few. And they ended up moving back to the United States. And so we're really missing Mark and Allie. But I think, they did it, and they, said, okay, well, it's not quite working out the way we had planned. So I don't think anyone ever regrets doing it and giving it a try. And then they just came back to the United States, and it's, they're on that path now.
Yeah. No, I agree. Give it a try. Look, for some people, it might be a 6-month journey. It might be a 5-year journey. They're like, okay, we're good. Now let's kind of do something else. And for some people, they've been here in Vallarta or somewhere else in Mexico 20, 30, 40 years. But again, it might just work out for them for a year, and they got it out of their system, and they just they want to experience something else. So Brian, question for you. If somebody wants to find your YouTube channel, what is the name?
It's called Almost Retired in Mexico.
Almost Retired in Mexico. Perfect. And if they want to email you, is there like an email?
Yeah. So it's Brighton at gen-mex.com. So instead of being, I'm a Gen Xer, but I'm also Gen Mex, which is that group of people who are moving south, who are like discovering that the United States, maybe Canada, is not what we had hoped, that wasn't fulfilling our dreams, and moving to a place to fulfill those dreams and really just making it happen. So that's Gen Mex. So gen-mex.com.
Perfect. Well, we'll add all your contact information in the notes for sure.
Great.
Brighton, thank you so very much. This has been great. You know what? I've never been to La Paz, and I want to go check it out someday. So, but I need to make sure you're there and you're not in Portland, right?
Yeah, definitely come during the winter to La Paz. And I'm hoping to make it over in February. I'm hoping to make it over to Puerto Vallarta. So maybe we can meet in person, maybe do another little video together.
That'll be great. Yes. All right, Brighton. Thank you so much, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Hasta luego.
Thanks for listening to Live by Design Mexico Edition. If there's a topic you'd love for us to cover, email us at info@tanielchemsian.com. We'd love to hear your ideas. And be sure to subscribe, share the show with a friend, and join me each week as we explore how to create freedom, adventure, and live by design under the Mexican sun. Design your days now, and your future will follow.